When Hamas operatives attacked Israel, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was prompt in his condemnation. Trudeau told the world it should, quote-unquote, stand united against acts of terror. And tonight, we are daring Justin Trudeau to practice what he preaches. Stand against terror, Mr. Trudeau, and arrest Gurpatwant Singh Pannun. Can you do that? Pick up the phone and give that arrest order? Pannun is a Khalistani terrorist. He has threatened Indians, also millions of others who fly India's flag carrier Air India every year, which, by the way, also includes thousands of Canadians. Pannun has threatened to blow up an Air India plane. You heard that right. In a video released over the weekend, Pannun said, and I'm quoting, "We are asking the Sikh people not to fly via Air India. After November 19, there will be a global blockade. Sikh people don't travel by Air India. After November 19, your life can be in danger." Now, this is not the first time Khalistani terrorists are targeting Air India. Let me just take you back to the year 1985. Air India flight 182 had taken off from Montreal. It was on its way to London, and from there it would go to Delhi, followed by Bombay. The plane never reached its destination. Khalistani terrorists planted a bomb on the flight. It exploded when the plane was mid-air, somewhere over the Atlantic. There were 329 people on board. 268 were Canadian citizens. All of them died. The bombing of the Air India Flight 182 is the worst terrorist attack in the history of Canada. Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, was Canada's Prime Minister back then. He was accused of not doing enough to prevent that tragedy. The mastermind of the bombing was a Khalistani terrorist, Talvinder Singh Parmar. One of the accused in this case was a man named Gurpatwant Singh Malik. Canada acquitted him for lack of evidence. Malik was one of Pannun's closest aides. And Gurpatwant Singh Pannun is trying to repeat history. Does Justin Trudeau have what it takes to crack down on this? For once, can Trudeau let the vote bank politics be? Arrest Pannun, interrogate him, jail him? Trudeau has everything he needs to act. There is evidence, also a solid case. Pannun was born in Amritsar, India. He left the country to stir anti-India sentiments abroad, and today Pannun leads a group called Sikhs for Justice. There is nothing right or just about this group. It is backed by Pakistan and the ISI. India has banned Sikhs for Justice. It is now on the lookout for Pannun. In the year 2023 alone, Pannun has threatened Hindus in Canada. He has released videos threatening to target Indian missions in Canada. Pannun also issued a threat to the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And what has Trudeau done about this terror emanating from his backyard? In one word, nothing. Mr. Trudeau has indulged in selective condemnation of terror. He condemns all terrorism except terrorists who have found a safe haven in Canada, the likes of Pannun. In the year 2020, India declared Pannun a proclaimed terrorist. He currently faces over 20 criminal cases in India. A court in India issued non-bailable warrants against him. But this terrorist continues to roam about freely in Trudeau's Canada. He had, although, gone into hiding for a bit earlier this year after 2 Khalistani terrorists were killed in Canada within a short span of time. Clearly, Pannun has resurfaced now. All eyes are on the 19th of November and Justin Trudeau. Will Trudeau do what he preaches? When he came down to India for the G20 summit, the Canadian Prime Minister said, quote unquote, "We are always there to prevent violence and push back against hatred." On the 10th of October, Trudeau tweeted, "Glorification of violence is never acceptable in Canada by any group or in any situation." Let me just read that again. Glorification of violence is never acceptable in Canada by any group or in any situation. This is Trudeau's chance to actually walk the talk. Prove to us and the world that he does not speak with a double tongue, that he is more than just hot air. This is Trudeau's chance to not repeat mistakes made during his father's term. Like I was telling you, back in 1984, Canadian authorities were criticized for not doing enough to prevent the attack on the Air India plane. In the year 2006, a public inquiry set up by a Canadian Supreme Court judge concluded that a cascading series of errors led to the largest mass murder in Canadian history. Canada was warned months before the bombing. Weeks before the attack, Canada's secret services followed Khalistani terrorists to some woods on Vancouver Islands. He heard a loud explosion. Canada did nothing, and 329 people lost their lives. Justin Trudeau's inaction risks repeating history. So, Mr. Trudeau, what is your plan of action? Friendly democracies do not protect terrorists. Friendly democracies do not endanger the lives of innocent people. The world is watching. If you have been feeling exhausted and unmotivated at work, if you find yourself procrastinating more frequently these days, it does not automatically mean that you're being lazy. You might simply be burnt out, especially if you are an Indian, because Indian employees have logged in the highest rates of burnout symptoms. This is according to a study by McKinsey Health Institute. The organization surveyed 30,000 staffers across 30 countries, and it found out that 22% of employees are experiencing burnout symptoms at work. The share was the highest in India. 59% of the staffers reported symptoms of burnout. Saudi Arabia came in second, with 36% of the employees experiencing burnouts. Meanwhile, Chile and Egypt ranked third with a burnout rate of 33%. On the other end of the spectrum, meanwhile, Cameroon had it the best, with only 9% employees showing burnout symptoms. The figure stood at 12% in Argentina and Colombia, and at 13% in the Netherlands and Mexico. Demographically, those between the ages of 18 and 24 had the lowest holistic health scores. And this just reiterated numerous other studies that have shown that Gen Z suffers the most at work. Meanwhile, the study showed that the size of the company also affected burnouts. So did an employee's job role. Respondents in large companies with more than 250 employees had higher holistic health scores than those in smaller companies. And guess what? Managers had the highest holistic health scores, while all other workers reported lower scores and symptoms of burnout. So what really explains the alarming rates of burnout, especially in India, with more than half of its workforce feeling exhausted, more than half? Why really is this happening? There are important questions to ask, but we will get to that in just a bit. Let's first discuss burnouts. What are they all about, and why do they really occur? Physically, a burnt-out employee experiences frequent headaches and stomach aches, intestinal issues. They are constantly fatigued. They fall ill frequently. They also experience changes in appetite and sleep. Emotionally, there is a feeling of helplessness, cynicism, loss of motivation. There is an increased sense of failure, decreased satisfaction. Those going through a burnout may also feel detached or alone in the world. These are some of the symptoms you can watch out for. And coming to our next question, why do burnouts occur? And why are they more prevalent in some countries as opposed to the others? According to the World Health Organization, burnout is the result of chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Essentially, it all comes down to management. If employees are exposed to stress for extended period, then there is no healthy way to cope with it, and they will end up feeling burnt out. In work environments with constant tight deadlines, long working hours, shortage of staff, unequal and unfair distribution of work, and no work-life balance, burnouts are inevitable. Sometimes HR policies are also to be blamed. Unfortunately, in developing countries like India, average working hours are longer than others. India ranks 7th on the list globally. On an average, Indians put in 47.7 hours at work every week. So amid all of this, in jobs that demand your best every day, in offices that force you to punch in designated hours, how can you look after yourself? How can you escape a burnout? Well, for starters, look for flexible work schedules. And if possible, work for an understanding boss. And if you are not appreciated, by all means, leave. Should Virat Kohli play the 2027 Cricket World Cup? In the recent ICC Cricket World Cup match against South Africa, Kohli made history by securing his 49th ODI century, matching Sachin Tendulkar's long-standing record. A remarkable achievement which further solidifies his greatest of all-time legacy. And as a former Indian captain, Kohli's exceptional fitness and unwavering determination to win the World Cup for India have been on full display. With the next World Cup set for 2027, the question arises, will the 35-year-old Kohli, who will turn 39 during the next World Cup event, play for India? His devoted fans firmly believe he must and he will. And they are not wrong. Here's why. You see, Virat Kohli has etched his name in cricketing history by amassing more than 13,000 runs in the ODI format. And what's truly exceptional is that he achieved this milestone in just 277 ODI innings, including 70 half-centuries. Cricketing legend Sachin Tendulkar reached this record in 321 innings. Kohli has surpassed Tendulkar's feat in just 267 innings, making him the sole player to reach the 13,000 ODI runs milestone in under 300 innings. And Kohli took only 15 years to get to 49 ODI hundreds. Kohli has scored a century every 5.65 innings on an average. He also has an edge in chases. The former Team India captain has 27 hundreds in ODI chases, with 23 coming in wins. And let's not forget, Kohli has been instrumental in some of India's wins while chasing targets more than a couple of times. Virat will look to continue his good form in the final league game against the Netherlands. His highest score in this World Cup is 103 not out. And claiming victory in an ICC ODI World Cup is the ultimate achievement in one-day cricket. And so India's remarkable undefeated run in the ongoing 2023 World Cup has raised a rather interesting question. Has the team reached its peak performance too early? Team India's remarkable journey in the tournament has been characterized by extraordinary performances. In the last match, Virat Kohli's century and Ravindra Jadeja's brilliant 5-wicket haul propelled India to a commanding 243-run victory over South Africa. Team India's exceptional displays have not only set records but also established dominance in the competition. And this has raised hopes that come November 19, India could be lifting the World Cup trophy for a third time if they continue their winning run. And today, India is a big deal in international cricket, to say the least, with record viewership numbers showcasing the sport's immense popularity. Recognizing India's pivotal role in cricket, the International Cricket Council calls it a key market, with approximately 85% of ICC's broadcast revenue coming from here. And in line with this craze for the game, reports suggesting that Saudi Arabia is now looking to invest in one of the most coveted tournaments in international cricket, the Indian Premier League. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's advisors have reportedly engaged with the Indian government to explore the possibility of moving the IPL into a holding company valued at up to $30 billion, in which Saudi Arabia would acquire a substantial stake. Reports say that Saudi Arabia proposed investing as much as $5 billion into the league and help lead an expansion into other countries, similar to the English Premier League or the European Champions League. While Saudi Arabia is keen about the deal, the Indian government and India's cricket regulator, the BCCI, will take the final call on the proposal that could be after next year's general elections. Saudi Arabia's powerful sovereign wealth fund, which has anchored many of the kingdom's previous sports investments, could ultimately be the vehicle used to do a deal with the BCCI if an agreement is reached. No final decisions have yet been made.